continue our series on Election 88, a look back.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming here today. I didn't anticipate so many people, and I'm glad we left the announcement here at the Excelsior. The first thing I want to say to my family and friends and the people I haven't seen since we issued the statement yesterday is that I feel great today, and I hope you do too. I am profoundly grateful to people in this state and all over this country who encouraged me to run for president and pledged to support me if I did. I have in the last few weeks traveled to 20 states, met with countless thousands of people, received the offers to work in our campaign of over 1,000 Americans from all across this country, commitments of enough money to start with a credible campaign, commitments of some of the most gifted people I have ever known to work on our staff, and I've spent a great deal of time trying to master the issues that I would have to live with and work with and speak to as a candidate which are not within the domain of the daily work of the governor of Arkansas. It has been a very busy and arduous but exhilarating experience. During the course of that time, I have garnered the support of a lot of my fellow governors, people who have very different backgrounds from mine, people with expertise in foreign policy, people who come from all different parts of this country. I know that we could have put together quickly a very good campaign with an excellent chance of winning. The main reason I know it is because of the reaction I have received around the country and the speeches that I have given and the message that I have tried to take to all the people who have been there listening. I strongly believe that in the next election our people need to elect a president who can unify this country around an agenda designed to develop the God-given capacities of our people and the ability of our economy to grow. That we have to understand more clearly than we ever have before that we are all in this together. That the interest of the stockbroker on Wall Street or the defense contractor in Connecticut is inextricably tied to the farmers in Iowa or the poor school children in the rural towns of the depressed South. I believe the role of government is to forge a coalition of programs and all government initiatives represent a contract between the government and the people. That no one can claim a right against the government without first being willing to assume a responsibility. That is at the heart of the education program that we have pushed here for so many years. More money, more opportunity, more responsibility, more accountability. It is at the heart of the welfare reform program that I have worked so hard to get Republicans and Democrats alike in the Congress and among the governors to support. The right to receive public assistance in return for the responsibility to become independent and a productive contributing member of society. It is at the heart of what I believe should be done in all of our foreign relations. Whether we're talking about what we should do in Central America, how we should get nuclear missiles out of Europe, how we should negotiate with the Japanese to keep our markets open in return for their assuming a fair share of responsibility to regenerate and revitalize the world's economy. And I hope that someone will take up the banner of forging a new social contract in this country, of redefining a role for aggressive government, of bringing the American people together across the lines which have divided them. Much good has happened in our country in the last 7 years, but if you live in Arkansas, you know that our people have been increasingly divided by region, by race, by age, by income group. There is a far greater difference today between the states which are doing well and those which are doing poorly than there was just a few years ago. In 1985, people over 65, for the first time in the history of the United States of America, became less poor than the rest of the country, and that was a wonderful achievement. But it was accompanied by a sprawling new class of poor people, young women and their small children. We have seen more and more income and employment differentials among blacks and whites and other racial minorities. And perhaps worst of all, between 1981 and 1986, while 40% of the American people had an increase in their income, 20% held on, 40% had a decrease. And all across America, I have asked one simple question. Can we preserve the American dream as we know it? Can we preserve the American dream as we know it if for 5 and then 10 and 15 and 20 years, 40% of the people go up while 40% continue to go down? The people of this country know that we cannot permit these conditions to continue, and they know it without regard to party. in my last speech as a potential candidate at the National Association of Counties in Indianapolis. I received a rousing ovation for basically reiterating these themes, and half the people that came up to me afterwards said, you know, I am a Republican, but I believe that's the kind of thing that ought to be done, and I could support you. The thing which gave credibility to all these initiatives that I tried to discuss, the thing which undergirded everything that I spoke about, was my experience here as governor and the record we have tried to make together in education and economic development and child health, taking all kinds of new initiatives, trying things which work and things which don't, to deal with the rapidly changing world and its impact on Arkansas. Today I met earlier with my staff and my cabinet to thank them for giving me the chance to be governor in a successful way and to be credible as a potential candidate for president. And I want to thank all of you who are here who've been my political supporters for giving me that chance. I want you to know that I believe we had a chance to run well. It was certain that we would have been taken seriously, and entirely possible we could have won. Why? Why then did I decide not to run, and when did I decide it? Well, the first thing I want you to know is there is no external reason to me and to my family. I have not been offered some deal by another campaign. I'm probably available, I don't know. I have been offered no deal by another campaign. I have been subject to no threat. I have been, in short, treated with great courtesy and respect everywhere I have gone. And I am more grateful than I can say for that. The reason I decided not to run is just what I said in my statement. For 13 years now, since 1974, the people of this state have made it possible for me to be in public life. But they have not made it easy for me to be in public life. I have been in 15 separate election contests, as far as I know, more than any other state office holder in the United States, subject to more rigorous scrutiny and tougher campaigns, more brutal battles than anyone else that I can think of that's been around here lately. And they have been a great education for me. I have learned a lot about people. I have learned about how to get things done. I've learned a lot about what not to do as well as what to do, and I have learned a great deal about what is going on in our country as manifest by what is going on here. But these elections have taken their toll. And anyone out here who's ever run and even won election, who's ever been in any kind of a struggle for the votes of the people, who's ever been through that day in and day out routine, can only imagine what it is like to do it every 2 years from 1974 through 1986. And very frankly, I thought my senior senator was going to run for president. I expected to be supporting him. And I had looked forward for the first time in 13 years to the chance to operate the governor's office in a more relaxed, more disciplined, more forward-looking way, and to run my personal life in a more relaxed, more orderly way, unencumbered by the burdens of an election or the certainty that another one was about to start in a day or two. And I need some family time. I need some personal time. The only thing a governor's got to offer running for president is the same thing any other candidate does, and that's what's inside. That's what sets people on fire in Wisconsin and Indianapolis, the same thing that makes people vote for you whether you live in Arkansas or Indiana or New Jersey or anywhere else. And politicians are people too. I think sometimes we forget it, but they really are. The other reason, and even more important, was the certain impact that this campaign would have had on our daughter. The only way I would have a chance to win getting in this late, after others have been working for up to 2 years, would be to go on the road 6 or 7 days a week from now on till the end. And Hillary would have had to do the same thing. I think, very frankly, that one of the reasons I would have had an excellent chance to win is Hillary. I think... I say that meaning no disrespect to the spouses of the other candidates, some of whom are very good friends of mine. But I think you all know what an impact she might have had on the American people talking about these issues that we care about so deeply. But if she had been gone 5 days a week and I had been gone 6 or 7 days a week, think of the impact on an only child who's only 7, who still thinks her parents are pretty good folks in spite of politics. I could not see any way that it would be good for her for us to do this. And frankly, to be perfectly selfish, the thought of missing all those softball games and soccer games and plays at the school and consultations with the teachers mortified me. I've been active since I was a young man in national politics in one way or the other, going back over 15 years now. I've had the privilege to know a lot of politicians and their families. I've seen a lot of kids grow up under these pressures. And a long, long time ago, I made a promise to myself that if I was ever lucky enough to have a kid, my child would never grow up wondering who her father was, that I would be there. And in the end, this race finished where it started. When I came home from New Hampshire, I was happy, flying like a kite because of the reception I'd gotten. I really believed that if I could have gotten in that race right then, within 3 or 4 weeks, I could have been virtually in second place in New Hampshire in terms of organization and impact. But I could not bring myself to make those phone calls. I made more calls yesterday calling people to tell them I wasn't going to run for president than I had made on any single day since I have been looking at this, because I knew something inside was holding me back. My mind said, this is an open race. Look at the reception you're given. Look at the people who are willing to help you. Look at what the opportunity is. If you run well and distinguish yourself and you do well by your state, nothing bad can happen. It'll be good for Arkansas and it'll be good for you, and you've got a good cabinet and a good staff, and things will be all right. And the legislature's not going to come back for a while. Thank goodness. I said to myself, so, you know, what's the downside? But I couldn't bring myself to close the deal because down deep inside I knew that it was not the right time for me. I also feel very strongly that while state government would have gone along all right and run with great confidence, a lot of the initiatives which need to be pursued would not have been pursued as aggressively as they will be now that I'm here. The task force I appointed to look into tax reform needs to get about its business aggressively. The task force I appointed to look into the code of ethics and lobby disclosure issue needs to pursue its work aggressively. We need to resolve which direction we're going to take in mental health and get about it. We're in the process of implementing a 5-year program that will dramatically reduce the rate of infant mortality and child birth-related problems in Arkansas, and we need to pursue it aggressively. There is so much more that we need to do. And no matter how you slice the cake, there's just so much of the governor to go around. And I can make a difference here, and on balance, I think the people are probably better off with me being here even than going to New York and telling everybody how great we all are. And I intend to do the very best job I can. I hope that you will all accept what I'm saying. I don't know what else to say. In the end, I think that the magic that exists between a politician and the people stems from the passion and intensity of the message and the integrity and coherence of the messenger. I think I had the message. I know I could deliver it. But when it came time for me to step up to the bat, down deep inside, my head said go and my heart said, it isn't right for you now. This is not the right thing to do. You have other responsibilities and other obligations and deep personal feelings that don't make it possible. I want to say one other thing in closing. When I started this quest across the country, I said something which many, I think, took wrongly, that I thought this might well be my only chance to run. And the reason I said it was not because I thought that was a justification for running. I tried to make clear at the time I did not believe that, and I do not today. But I now no longer believe it will be. Politics is different now than it used to be. Most of the people who run for president now, or at least a lot of them, don't even have other jobs, much less other elected jobs. They can devote themselves to the process far more fully than I could. So, for whatever it's worth, I'd still like to be president. In the meantime, I want you all to know, those of you who wanted me to run so badly and those of you who were so terribly disappointed, that I'm doing the right thing. And I ask for your prayers and your good wishes. Let's go back to work to try to help our state and wait for another day, because it's coming. Thank you, and God bless you.
Up next, Democratic Congressman Patricia Schroeder announces she will not seek the U.S. presidency to supporters in Denver, Colorado.